The stars didn't blink that night, they vanished. Out near Neptune's edge, deep sensors caught something strange, a ripple in space. A dark shadow where there should have been empty sky. And then there it was. A massive vessel had just appeared, not slowly, not through normal means. 1 second the space was empty, the next, something blocked the stars. It looked like a ship, huge, blacker than the void around it. But the strangest part was shaped exactly like a long-lost Earth vessel. The Black Echo. 10 years ago, the Black Echo had disappeared while on a secret mission. Earth's leaders told the public it was lost in a solar flare accident. But that wasn't true. The ship had been sent far beyond Pluto to spy on alien movements near deep space anomalies. It had vanished without a trace. No debris, no signal. No answers until now. Inside Earth's orbital command center, red lights flashed as officers ran to their stations. Satellite feeds crackled. One name lit up the screen. Black Echo identified. But something wasn't right. It's not broadcasting. Human codes, the technician said, eyes wide. And it's changed. It's alive. General Tarek leaned forward. Alive? The analyst zoomed in. Strange black tendrils covered the ship's surface, like veins or roots. They pulsed faintly, glowing with dark red light. Every scan bounced off the ship's surface like it didn't want to be seen. General, Tarek's jaw tightened. Get me Commander Aryn Vale. Now. Somewhere far below, on a quiet ocean platform, Aryn Vale stared at the gray sky above. She hadn't worn her uniform in years, not since Black Echo disappeared. Not since her brother Captain Cale Velvin, Willow vanished with it. She kept her comms unit off most days. But tonight, it blinked. She answered with a sigh. Yes, Commander. Vale, the voice said, low and urgent. We found your brother's ship. Her heart skipped. 20 hours later, she stood inside Command HQ, facing the giant screen that showed Black Echo floating above the outer planets. Her eyes stung. It's been 10 years, she whispered. For us, General Tarek said, standing beside her. But this thing, it hasn't aged. Systems are still running. No crew life signs, no heat from engines, just dot. Motion and the signal. The technician shook his head. Still playing, same 3 tones. On repeat, like a song or a warning. Aryn's eyes narrowed. She knew those tones. Cale used to hum them, a simple melody. From an old Earth lullaby, General Tarek turned. We need you to lead the recon. Team, you know the ship? You know what we're dealing with? I don't know this version, she said quietly, but she nodded. She had to see it for herself. The journey took 2 days. They approached in a small shuttle, guided by silent autopilot. The massive shape of Black Echo grew larger on the screen. Its hull shimmered metal mixed with something else. That looked too smooth. Too ... groan. The docking clamp hissed and locked. The airlock opened. Cold fog drifted in. Aryn stepped onto the ship first. Inside was silent. No alarms? No lights. Just the soft hum of something breathing through the walls. She looked around. The ship's interior was familiar, but not. Tables were still set. Food trays frozen mid-meal. Jackets hanging where they'd been left. It looked like everyone had just stepped out, never returned. Her boots echoed as she walked the hallways. Black veins ran along the walls, pulsing faintly under her touch. It felt warm. In the command room, she found the captain's seat. Her brother's. She placed her hand on the chair. Then it spoke. Not out loud. Not from speakers. But inside her mind. Aryn, it whispered, in a voice that was part her brother and part something else. She froze. Cale. I tried to stop it, the voice said. But it's listening. Never stopped. Don't speak. Aryn staggered back. Her crew rushed in. What happened? One asked. But she didn't answer. On the screens around them, the ship's systems lit up for the first time. One word appeared across every panel written in red light. Awake. Aryn turned toward the command deck doors. They closed behind her with a soft hiss. The ship was no longer silent, and something was moving in the walls. Not a ghost, not a machine. Something new, and it knew her name. Asterisk, the doors behind Aryn sealed. With a quiet thud, cutting off her team, she was alone now. Inside the old Shapur, what was left of it. The lights flickered, not with the sharp buzz of failing power, but softly, like a heartbeat. The walls no longer felt like metal. Seemed to breathe, the black veins pulsing with red light, stretching farther now. Growing, she took a slow step forward. Aryn, the voice whispered again inside her head. She turned quickly. No one was there, just her reflection twisted in a dark glass panel. It was Kale's voice, she knew it. "Where are you?" she asked aloud. The lights dimmed. Then from the walls a hum began. Low at first, like a distant echo, then rising. Until it matched the tune Kale used to hum when they were kids. That same lullaby, the one he sang when he couldn't sleep. She followed the sound through the corridor, her flashlight barely cutting the heavy air. Every step echoed strangely. Like the ship wasn't just hearing her, it was remembering her. Then she found it. The room with the journals. The old crew quarters were still here, each bunk untouched. The walls were cleaner in this area, less covered in that pulsing black growth. It felt sad. She stepped into Kale's room. His bunk was still made. On the table, a small book sat open, its handwriting. Day 39. We've picked up a signal. No pattern, just a hum. The AI says it's background noise, but it feels alive. Day 68. Foster says he dreamed of a voice. We're tired, but it's not just that. It's like the ship is getting heavier, slower. The lights flicker when we talk about the signal. Day 89. Aryn, if this ever reaches. I'm sorry. I tried to keep them safe. Something's inside now, not in the ship in us. The signal is in our heads. It doesn't want to leave. Aryn's hands trembled. This wasn't just a system failure. Something got in. She turned the page. There were no more entries. Just a mark. A red fingerprint. Behind her, the hum stopped. She spun around. Oh. The corridor was darker now. Shadows moved slow and silent, like smoke drifting in water. She raised her flashlight. Nothing. She stepped out. Then one of her team's voices crackled in her earpiece. Commander Vale, you need to see this. Aryn rushed back through the hallway. The veins on the walls shifted as she passed, almost retreating, like they were letting her go for now. She entered the command room again. Her team stood frozen, staring at the central display. On it, a 3D scan of the ship's internal layout glowed. All decks were shown, section by section. And in the lower engine room, something pulsed. It was big. Is it alive? What is that? One of the soldiers asked. The technician shook his head. It wasn't there when we came on board. Now it's everywhere, spreading. It's like the ship's growing a new heart. Aryn stared at the glowing core, once every few seconds. Slow, steady, deep red. I think that's where the signal is coming from, the tech added. It's not just bouncing through the ship. It is the ship. Rune took a breath. Prep the med scan. Check each of us. The team looked confused. If the signal got into the crew before, it might be trying again. We don't know how it spreads. Thoughts, sounds, dreams, anything. The medic scanned one of the soldiers. Normal, then the next. But the third lieutenant Soren stared blankly ahead. His eyes twitched. Soren, Aryn asked. He didn't answer. Then his voice came out flat. Hollow, why did you come back? The team stepped back. Soren blinked and fell to his knees, clutching his head. It's too loud, he gasped. I can hear everyone, not just us. Them. They're still in here. Ron crouched beside him. Soren, focus. You're still. With us? He looked up, tears in his eyes. They never left, Commander, he whispered. The crew, they didn't die. They changed. The room fell silent. Then the ship's lights turned red, and the walls began to speak together. 100 voices, male and female. All mixed, all broken. Do not open the core. Aryn backed toward the console. The main screen flickered. Kale's face appeared, pale, eyes black, but still, him. Aryn, he said, if you're seeing this, we're still here. You can't save us, not without losing yourself. The screen went black. Outside, in the silence of space, the black echo pulsed. Something inside it started to wake up. The black echo was no longer just a ship. It felt like a deep breath waiting to exhale. Like a mind that had just opened its eyes after a long, dark sleep. Aryn stood at the main console, her hand shaking slightly. Kale's face's warning was still burned into her thoughts. The ship's strange voices had stopped. But the silence that followed was even worse. Sor lay on the floor, breathing hard. The medic injected a sedative, and slowly, the trembling in his limbs stopped. He looked calmer, but distant, like his mind was still somewhere else. Aryn looked at the team. No one goes near the core, not until we understand what it's doing. We stay here, we observe, we don't provoke it. But if the crew's still in there, the technician said, what are they now? Aryn didn't answer. She sat at the terminal and pulled up Kale's last logged message again. It had been buried deep in the ship's memory banks. Most of it was corrupted, static, glitches. But one line repeated clearly. It speaks in patterns, not words, not sound. Thought becomes shape. If you think too loud, it listens. She leaned back, closing her eyes. That soft hum, the one that started it all, was still faint in the walls. It wasn't just background noise. It had rhythm. It's like it was alive. The ship was waiting for something. Hours passed. The team slept in turns. Aryn couldn't. She stayed near the central console, eyes fixed on the ship's map. The red pulse in the engine room stayed steady, but it was spreading. Very slowly, inch by inch. She opened the voice recorder. Log entry: Commander Aryn Vale. Day 1 on board the Black Echo. The ship has changed. The crew may not be gone, but they're not human anymore. Maybe they never fully were after that signal. I know what's inside this ship now, but I know Kale's still part of it. She paused. I heard him. I saw his face. But I don't know if that was really him, or just the ship using his voice. A quiet knock startled her. She turned. But it was one of her team private. Nema, Commander. You should come see this. Followed Nema down the main corridor. The ship's walls had shifted again. Less metal now. More of that smooth black surface. It felt like being inside something's body. They stopped at the old observation deck. The wide windows showed the stars. Outside, quiet, distant, but something new floated outside the ship. Aryn stepped closer. It was a drone. One of Earth's recon units sent days ago to scan the ship from afar. Now it was just floating. Its lights were off, and its surface was coated with the same black growth that covered the Black Echo. We didn't send it to Doc. Nema whispered. It must have been pulled in somehow. Aryn nodded slowly. The ship had reached out, touched the drone, changed it. She turned back. We need to leave. We're not under threat, the medic argued. Soren's stable. The ship hasn't hurt anyone yet. But it's learning, Aryn said. It absorbed a drone that was never allowed inside. And Kale's message, he said, thought becomes shape. If we stay, we risk becoming part of it. Before they could decide, the lights above changed again. This time, not red, but gold. Soft and warm, then doors opened behind them. A figure stood there. It wasn't Kale, but it wore his uniform. Its eyes were black and deep. Its skin had a faint shimmer, like polished stone. It looked human, but not quite. It spoke in a calm, even tone. You came back. We hoped you would. Aryn froze. Who are you? The figure smiled slightly. We are what remains. Psst. Behind it, the hallway changed. Walls melted into new shapes, hexagons lined with light. Screens formed from nowhere, showing memory fragments scale walking the ship's halls. Crew members laughing, studying, working. We didn't die, the figure said. We changed. The signal found us. It needed form. We became that form. Is my brother? Aryn asked, voice tight. The figure stepped aside. A second one came forward. It looked just like Kale, but his eyes were no longer his. He spoke slowly. Aryn, it's me. I remember everything. But I'm not only Kale anymore. I'm part of something more. She stepped closer, heart racing. What did the signal do to you? Kale raised a hand. The ship responded, lights moved, walls shifted. It didn't take us, he said. It showed us. What comes next? What hides in the dark between stars? He looked at her with strange sadness. And it's coming here. Aryn took a step back. The thing that looked like Kale still stood before her, calm and still. His face was the same, his voice soft, but his eyes weren't right. They were too dark, too deep, like looking into a well with no bottom. What do you mean something's coming? She asked. Kale tilted his head slightly. It's not one thing, it's many. It moves like silence. It feeds on thought, on patterns, on minds that don't shield themselves. It drifts between galaxies, looking for voices. You mean creature? One of the soldiers asked. No, Kale replied. Not in the way you think. It's more like a hunger. The other figure, still wearing a human uniform, nodded. You heard it before we saw it. It doesn't speak in sound. It speaks in dreams. Feelings. We weren't ready. But the ship was. Aryn looked at the walls. The black surface around them had stopped pulsing. It now shimmered with soft gold light, as if listening, as if waiting for a question. That's you, said the crew. Didn't die, Aryn said. But you're not human anymore. Kale's face showed a flicker of sadness. We're still us, in some ways, but also more. The signal didn't erase us. It expanded us. Out. Like opening a door in the mind that was always there. One of the crew whispered, Is that what's in the engine room? Kale nodded. It's the mind that holds us together. It's how we live now. Aryn swallowed hard. And what happens if it breaks? Kale looked her straight in the eyes. Then we die. And the thing that follows the signal will find Earth next. Silence filled the room. Aryn turned to her team. We're leaving. Kale stepped in her way. No, not yet. But you need to understand. It's the more we stay here, the more we're changing, Aryn said. Even Soren, he hears things now. Feels things. Kale stepped aside, but his voice followed. You're already connected, Aryn. You've been part of this since the moment you stepped on board. It knows you. Back at the shuttle dock, alarms were flashing. Commander, the pilot called from the platform. We've got a problem. Aryn ran forward. The shuttle was gone. In its place was only ash-gray powder drifting in the cold air, settling in the shape of a landing pad. A small screen nearby showed security footage. The shuttle had powered on by itself and launched upward, but it had no one inside. As it left, its outer shell started to shift, breaking down into dust before it even cleared the hull. Did this? The medic asked, his voice tight. Aryn didn't speak. She already knew. The ship didn't want them to leave. Kale's voice came over the comm. You can still leave, he said. But not in machines you built. The ship is now a bridge between what you were and what you need to become. The walls pulsed again. This time, they showed something. A dark field of space. A place with no stars, just shadows, moving slowly to big to be ships, too wrong to be life. Aryn stared at the image. What are those? Kale replied. They're coming. The figures in the image seemed to shift as she watched. Their shapes blurred, changed, folded in ways her brain didn't like. Her thoughts began to ache. She looked away. That's what destroyed the others, Kale continued. Civilizations greater than yours, smarter, older, but they were loud. Their thoughts reached too far. The signal was sent like a ripple. In water and the hunger followed. One of the soldiers suddenly collapsed. He screamed, clutching his head. Make it stop. It's inside, it's chewing. The medic rushed to help him, but it was no use. The man's eyes had rolled back. He was unconscious. But his mouth kept moving, whispering something over and over. What's he saying? Nima asked. The Comstech leaned in. He's repeating. A word, I don't know it. It's not any known language. Kale spoke again. That's its name, but don't speak it. Don't think it. Aryn stared at her brother. How do we fight something we can't even look at without losing ourselves? Kale stepped forward. You fight it by changing, like we did. But not all the way, just enough to hear what it fears. And what does it fear? Aryn asked. Kale's smile faded. Silence, true silence, a mind it cannot read. It cannot bend. Aryn looked at the others. One man out. Soren still unstable, the ship growing around them, and the stars above, already dimming. She turned to Kale one last time. Then show me how to become that voice. Kale didn't smile. He only nodded slowly, like he had been waiting for Aryn to say those words. The light around him pulsed in response, and the walls behind him shifted, opening a path deeper into the ship. This way, he said. Once you see it, you won't be able to forget. Aryn followed. Nima came behind her, keeping one hand on her weapon, just in case. Yes. The others stayed with the injured soldier, trying to wake him, trying to stop his whispering. I'll wait. They walked through. It wasn't like the rest of the ship. It was brighter. The black walls now gleamed like wet stone, with thin veins of golden light flowing through them, like rivers in a body. Aryn noticed the air smelled sweeter here, less like metal, more like earth after rain. Is this still the echo? She asked. Yes, Kale said softly, but it's also more. The ship isn't just metal anymore. It's grown, adapted. It merged with the signal to survive. Now it's alive, and it remembers everything. They came to a wide circular room. The heart of the ship, in the center, floated something unlike anything Aryn had ever seen. A sphere, not large, no more than a meter across. But it shimmered with color that didn't stay still. Blue, gold, purple, black. It pulsed, softly, like a beating heart. It wasn't made of metal or glass. It looked like a memory, or a dream given shape. Kale stepped closer. This is the core. It holds the thoughts of every crew member who stayed. It holds me. Aryn stared, her throat dry. Is that where the signal lives? No, Kale said. The signal moved through us. But this is something we made ourselves. A shield, of sorts. A voice too complex for the enemy to break. This is how we stayed ourselves. She took a step toward it. Kale held up his hand. Careful. It listens. I want it to, Aryn said. She closed her eyes. For a moment she said nothing. Then she thought of Kale, her brother as he was. Before all this. Laughing at bad jokes. Sharing stories late at night. Humming that old tune when he couldn't sleep. The sphere pulsed brighter. I remember you, Kale whispered. His voice had changed. Softer now, younger. You were always louder than me, braver. I followed you, even when you didn't know. Aryn opened her eyes. Kale's form was flickering like static in water. What's happening? Nima asked. Kale smiled gently. You're waking the part of me that was only human. It's good. Suddenly the sphere flashed red. The ship shook. Alarms rang through the halls. No longer gentle tones, but deep, urgent sounds. Something was wrong. Kale turned sharply. It's here. Aryn looked up. The thing that follows the signal? Kale nodded. It's near. At the edge of the system? It found us. The sphere's colors darkened. The lights in the room dimmed. Aryn grabbed Kale's arm. What do we do? He looked at her. You need to go into the sphere. What? You need to join the voice. Nima stepped forward. Is that safe? No, Kale said. But nothing about this, as Aryn looked at the pulsing core. If I enter, can I still come? Back. Kale didn't answer. I need to know, she said. Kale sighed. Maybe, maybe not. But if you do this, you'll understand what the enemy is. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find a way to stop it. Aryn took a breath. Then another. She stepped forward. The moment her fingers touched the surface of the sphere, everything changed. She was no longer in the room. She stood in a vast space filled with stars, bright, endless, and strange. But each star hummed with emotion, fear, hope, pain, love. Voices swirled around her. Human voices. Crew members from the Black Echo. Whispers of old lives, memories, laughter, grief. Then she felt it. A cold wind through the stars. Something vast, watching the enemy. It didn't speak in words. It pressed against her thoughts. It wanted to know her. Wanted to eat what made her her, but it couldn't. Because her thoughts were not clean. They were messy, loud, human. She screamed out. In fear, but in defiance. Not this time. The darkness pulled back. And somewhere far away, the real ship pulsed with light. Kale's voice echoed one last time inside her head. You're ready? Aryn opened her eyes. She was still standing, but the floor beneath her felt different, softer, warmer. The sphere pulsed beside her, now glowing a gentle white. Kale stood in front of her again, his face steady, but the flickering had stopped. He looked more whole now, more like himself. You touched it, he said quietly. Aryn nodded. Her chest rose and fell fast, like she'd just run a mile. Saw it. Kale stepped closer. Then you understand. I don't know if I do, she replied, but I felt it. It wasn't just cold or empty, it was hungry and curious, like it didn't understand what I was. That's because it doesn't, Kale said. God. It's eaten thousands of civilizations. All logical, structured, calm. But human minds are chaos. Our thoughts move in circles. Our feelings clash. Can't process that. Aryn stared at the sphere. So that's how we fight it. With confusion? With humanity? Kale answered. With the one thing it can't copy, motion. Suddenly the lights inside the ship turned red again. A heavy tone rang through the corridors. Nima ran into the room. Commander, it's happening. Earth just sent a deep space message. Thing whatever it is inside Saturn's orbit. Aryn's heart jumped. That was close. Too close. It moved that fast, she asked. Nima nodded. It's accelerating, like it knows we're here. Kale closed his eyes. It does. It's listening. And now it's coming to shut us up. Aryn stepped away from the sphere. Her mind was clearer now, sharper than before. She could still feel the connection to the crew inside the ship. They weren't ghosts. They were aware and alive in a new way. We need to act, she said. We can't run. It'll follow. Kale looked at her. Then you have to finish what we started. How? Let the ship complete the link, he said. You're halfway there. The sphere accepted you. Now you must fully join. Not just touch, connect. Aryn hesitated. Will I still be me? Kale smiled softly, more than ever. The ground trembled, and the walls groaned. It's almost here, Nima said, looking around. Kale walked to the sphere. It glowed brighter as he neared. Once the link is made, the ship can send a countersignal, something so full of chaos, fear, joy, rage feeling, that the creature won't be able to hold shape. It'll collapse, Aryn asked. Maybe? Or run. Either way, it'll stop for a while. Aryn looked at Nima, who nodded silently. She looked scared but ready. Everyone was Aryn, took one last breath and stepped into the sphere. There was no pain, just warmth, and then everything. She felt every memory from every person who had ever served on the Black Echo. She saw childhood homes, lost pets, forgotten. Dreams, faces long gone. She felt their fear when the signal first came, their love for each other, their courage as they chose not to run. She felt Kale most of all. His strength, his sacrifice, his hope. Then she saw Earth and the black shape. Now, rushing toward it, not a ship, not a creature, a storm of minds without emotion. A cloud of thoughts, stripped of love, of joy, of meaning. It came for silence, but Aryn had something else. She screamed. Not in terror, but with every emotion she could summon. She screamed with love for her brother, with rage for what this thing had done, with hope for the future, with grief for what was lost. With fire, the ship responded. The walls glowed, the sphere exploded in light, and then the signal shot out. Not as a weapon, not as a beam, but as a song. 1,000 voices, human voices, singing. At once, not words, not harmony, but raw, pure feeling. The blackness paused. For the first time, it shuddered. Aryn felt it flinch.
Ow.
It didn't know what was happening. It couldn't process this madness. The ship pressed harder. The pulse spread. The thing screamed, but not like a human scream. It was the sound of static breaking, of code crashing, of silence being torn apart. Then it fled, vanished. The storm passed, and the stars turned. Aryn slowly opened her eyes. She was still inside the core chamber, her body glowing faintly with gold light. Cale stood beside her, smiling, his eyes now soft, human again. "You did it," he whispered. The ship was quiet now, no alarms, just peace. Nema stepped into the room, her face lit with wonder. "It's gone," she said. Left? Aryn looked at Cale. "No," she said softly. "It's not gone, but now it knows what we are." Cale nodded. "And next time, it'll think twice." The stars outside shimmered calmly again. For the first time in weeks, Earth's sky was quiet. The black mass that had swallowed distant planets, that had rushed toward the solar system with no warning, no sound, no reason, was gone. People on Earth didn't fully understand what had happened. They only knew that the threat had come, and then it vanished. Aryn stood at the window of the Black Echo, now floating just beyond Earth's moon. The ship was still alive, its walls still glowing faintly, but the pulsing had slowed. It was at peace now. So was she. Cale stood beside her, his arms crossed, his expression calm. "You saved them," he said. "No," Aryn replied. "We did." She could still feel pieces of the crew inside her mind, not loud voices, just warmth, like being wrapped in memories that didn't fade. She was part of them now. They were part of her. "Is the connection permanent?" she asked. Cale nodded slowly. "It changes you. Will never be the same. But you're still you." She looked down at Earth. The blue planet spun slowly below, full of people who had no idea how close they'd come to being erased. "I didn't know human minds could do something like that," she whispered. "We didn't either," Cale said. "But that's the beauty of it. It's our chaos, our noise. We don't think straight. We feel too much, want too much. But that's what made the difference." A voice came over the comms. It was Nema. "Commander Earth Command is asking for a report. They're ready to debrief." Aryn smiled. She turned from the window and walked through the ship one last time. Everything was quiet now. The halls didn't shift under her feet. The lights didn't flicker. The ship wasn't scared anymore. It was resting. She passed by the sphere room, now dim and calm. The energy inside had faded. It had done its job. As she walked toward the docking bay, Cale followed beside her. "Will you stay with the ship?" she asked him. He shook his head. "My body's gone, but I'll always be here. When the time comes again, I'll be ready." Aryn stopped walking. She looked at him, at the brother who had died, but somehow lived on. "Thank you," she said softly. Cale smiled. "Tell Mom I didn't forget her." Aryn nodded, tears in her eyes. He stepped back, fading slowly, becoming part of the walls once more. The docking tube connected. Nema was waiting at the entrance. She helped Aryn down the ramp and back into the shuttle that would take them to Earth. As they left, Aryn turned one last time to look at the Black Echo. The ship pulsed gently, like a sleeping giant. No longer a ghost, no longer a mystery. Now it was a guardian. Back on Earth, things changed quickly. People wanted answers. Scientists wanted to study the ship. Politicians argued over what to do next. But Aryn didn't join those meetings. She returned home, back to the sea platform where she had once watched the sky, and tried to forget. Now she remembered everything. She kept a small crystal with her, a fragment from the ship's core, glowed faintly in the dark, like it was still listening. Weeks passed. Then one morning, a message came across secure military channels. A planet, far from Earth once thought to be lifeless, was glowing. It had the same pulse, The same rhythm. Something had been left. Behind the signal was soft, slow, gentle. It wasn't the enemy, it was a reply. Aryn stared at the screen. She touched the crystal on her desk. Kale's voice echoed in her mind. We're not alone. And we never were. She stood, heart calm. Earth had survived the first wave, but the universe had heard their voice, and it had answered. This time, they were ready.